know if you know this, but in 2022, Colorado, of course, every 2 years we send our members of Congress back. But in 2022, Colorado will send a brand new person to Congress in a brand new 8th congressional district. Because of the census, Colorado was added on, given another seat at the table in the hallowed halls of the U.S. House of Representatives, and it's Congressional District 8. And on the horn with me now is the voice that's been on the program before. She was a state representative, currently serving as a Weld County Commissioner, and now a declared candidate for Congressional District number 8. Wants to head to Washington, D.C. to represent the people of Congressional District 8. Lori Saine is on the hotline. Lori, good morning. Welcome in.
Good morning, Jimmy.
Lori, talk about the 8th Congressional District, newly constructed recently on Tuesday. The Supreme Court of the state of Colorado approved the boundaries of it. And so you want to represent the people of the 8th Congressional District. What is your motivation that you would leave the beloved hallowed halls of the Weld County Commission and go to Washington, D.C.? What are you thinking?
Well, Jimmy, what I'm thinking is as you remember, as your voice in Denver, I stood up to this extreme agenda, the socialist Marxist agenda from demagogues like Caraveo, as well as their enablers in both parties. So I couldn't just sit by, and Weld County is an amazing place. It is a bastion of freedom. But you can't fight from your fortress, and Washington needs leadership. We're looking at a Civics 101 lesson unfolding before us in real time. And as you just mentioned earlier, people aren't learning about what the dangers of communism really are, the dead bodies left behind, the reduction of freedom. But Republicans have just had major wins. And we're seeing across the country that parents are fed up and seeing what is really going on. This is just really, the tip of what's coming down the line for 2022. And people are seeing everything that government is funding is taking away their freedom. And that's why I'm running, Jimmy, is that we need to take back America. We need to make America free again. And what these socialist communists want, like Yadira Caraveo, is they want complete control of our life. They want complete government control of our lives. So we need to fight back, and I can provide the leadership to do that, and I have proven it.
The voice of Lori Saine, newly declared candidate for the newly formed 8th Congressional District in Colorado, currently a Weld County Commissioner, formerly a state representative in House District 63, but wanting to go to Washington, D.C. Lori, I'm watching the election results, as you mentioned, Tuesday, that I think a message was sent. But it seems as if today's American Democrat Party isn't learning that lesson. It seems like they're doubling down. Give me your analysis of the Democrats and what we watched on Tuesday and how they seem to be responding, which is doubling down on a very bad hand.
And a perfect example is Joe Biden said, "Was that me?" That's absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, even with giving illegal immigrants $450,000, everybody is talking about this, Jimmy, and saying that isn't right. We're treating our veterans like third-class citizens, but we're going to give people that aren't even citizens of this nation who broke our laws $450,000. So yeah, they are absolutely doubling down on their failed agenda. Our schools are failing us. The government is so outrageously out of control. They're curtailing our First Amendment rights. People are tired of this, and that's what they're telling me on the ground. They're also, by the way, very tired of Colorado Democratic policies that are leaving them exposed. They're tired of their houses being broken into. They're tired of their cars being stolen. And they're tired of their children coming home indoctrinated and putting government between them and their children. And they're angry, Jimmy, and they're ready for a change.
Obviously, it's going to take a lot of money to win a congressional seat. I'm sure the Democrats will dump a lot of money. Jared Polis, of course, maybe he'll dump a lot of money. You never know where the money will come from. You've got just a lot of money to win. How is it that Lori Saine believes that she can win the 8th Congressional District and become the first representative from Colorado in the newly seated 8th Congressional District?
Well, one of the reasons, Jimmy, is that, again, I have been extremely consistent in defending our freedom. You can take a look at my vote record, A+ with Principles of Liberty, Republican Liberty Caucus, and down online with the Colorado Union of Taxpayers being the House champion. So who are you going to trust to go to Washington not to go along to get along? Are you going to trust people that vote with the Democrats in our party? Or are you going to trust somebody who's actually done the leadership, the hard work, stood up to the establishment despite their threats and say, we're going to primary you, we are going to take you off committees if you don't vote this way. I'm going to go to Washington and I'm going to stand strong. I have proven it, and I'm a proven fighter for freedom.
Lori Saine is my guest, 8th Congressional District. Many of you are maybe in the 8th Congressional District and don't even know it. Lori, give us a rough estimate of where the boundaries. I know it's part of Weld County, part of Broomfield. It's a northern Colorado district for sure. What are the boundaries? Where do you have to campaign?
Well, the boundaries are Adams County, Weld County, little portions of Larimer County. If it has Broomfield in it, I'm going to have to take a microscope to it.
Yeah, it's
it's primarily Weld and Adams County.
Yeah, and they did that. What do you think the top issues? I mean, there's so many issues every day. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer in Washington, D.C. Seem to be driving an agenda. What is maybe the top one that this is something we have to take a stand on? Is it the border? Is it the budget? I mean, it's like drinking from a fire hydrant, but what are the most important issues, or the most important issue that we have to have a sane voice in Congress? Notice what I did there, a sane voice in Congress. Lori Saine, my guest. We have to have that sane voice in Congress to stop this part of the agenda. What's the most important issue, you think?
Well, one of the issues I'm hearing on the ground is definitely securing our border. Inflation is probably up there in the number one. When I talk to folks who are very, very concerned about all the government handouts that are just coming down and the printing of money. So eventually we're going to have to pay for that, Jimmy, or our children or our grandchildren have to pay for this outrageous debt and inflation. And businesses can't find workers because it's more profitable for a lot of folks to stay at home right now. So we need to have a sane policy when it comes to monitoring fiscal policy. And we don't have that right now. We just have an open border and an open checkbook by this Biden administration. So we need to stop that immediately.
One of the things that is frustrating, we have Joe Biden headed off to Europe last week. With multiple jets and an entourage and 1,000 people in the entourage with cabinet members, etc., talking about how we need to reduce our carbon footprint. I don't think he really believes it. But you've seen this representing House District 63 and also being a Weld County commissioner. There seems to be a war on energy production in America. Joe Biden goes to Russia, he goes to China or Saudi Arabia and OPEC and says, hey, could you turn up the pumps here a little bit? We need more oil and gas. But he shuts down oil and gas production and energy production in the United States. Talk about the oil and gas energy program in America and how Lori Saine views it versus how obviously Joe Biden says America oil and gas is not good. We'll go to Russia and we'll go to OPEC to ask for production.
Well, Jimmy, it's simple. If you look at how they view the world under a communist Marxist strategy, is oil and gas production. The more oil and gas production we have makes us more free and more prosperous. They don't want that. If you were to take all oil and gas production out of the state of Colorado, you would basically put that production in the hands of countries that hate us and actually produce it in a dirtier fashion. So it's really pretty hypocritical. The oil and gas industry here produces some of the cleanest fuel, and it's 90% of what we consume, Jimmy. I mean, you think about your Prius drivers. What's going round and round at the bottom of their car? Is that hemp-filled tires or those tires made of oil and gas? Even our clothing fibers, that helps those who are less fortunate. We produce so many things with oil and gas, including medicines. It's such a staple of our lives. I'm not saying that we couldn't be less dependent on particularly fossil fuels, but at this point in time, that is what is fueling our nation. That is what's fueling Colorado, and giving that production to other countries that hate us and actually dirty the air. That is hypocritical, and we can't stand for it.
Lori Saine, declared candidate for the 8th Congressional District, the very just newly declared, newly approved by the Colorado Supreme Court, and therefore we will have in 12 months from right now, we will have someone headed to Washington, D.C. Lori Saine wants to be that person in the 8th Congressional District. Lori, you have a primary to win as a Republican. Talk about how you end up, I guess, separating yourself from the field. I've seen some of the names going to jump in the primary. Perhaps if they do, some very kind and wonderful people. How do you, I guess, weed out the opponents? How do you navigate through that primary and become the nominee?
Well, we really rely on the people to weed out the process and make stronger candidates, Jimmy. And again, there's nobody who's going to fight the Democrats harder. There's not going to fight anybody who's going to fight the enablers in both parties harder that is taking this country down the wrong direction to bigger and bigger government. So again, I have proven that in the State House over and over again. You can't find somebody with a better voting record than I have and that stand up and with your voice in Denver. So I will stop. I'm running, Jimmy, to stop, expose, and destroy this leftist anti-family, anti-American, anti-God agenda that Yadira Caraveo endorses. She is going to be right there with the squad. She's going to be right there with Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, and I'm going to stop it.
The Colorado Sun describes you as a controversial former state lawmaker that will face a competitive primary as Democrats and the GOP vie for Colorado's newest congressional seat. What do you think of that tag? They out of the chute, they describe you as controversial, Lori Saine.
I love it. So maybe a benchmark is that you should vote for whoever the media hates the most, because that's the person that that shadow government doesn't want in office to stand up to them. So a conservative firebrand is perfect because that's exactly what I am.
Controversial former state lawmaker Lori Saine. Lori, the process has begun. I want you to give your website and kind of what does it look like? I've run for Congress and I know the pains of it, and you're at every brunch, breakfast, coffee that you can ever make it, and you're making little stump speeches here and stump speeches there, and maybe in grandma's backyard, but you're doing everything you can. What do the next couple of months look like for you? And then also plug your website. How can people learn more about you?
Well, the website is loriforfreedom.com. And again, that's why I'm running. I'm running to make America free again. I'm running to shrink the size of government in our lives. However I can, if I have to throw my body in front of people in Congress to slow them down, that's what I'm going to do. And you know that I was known as the architect of late nights and the queen of pain. We would stay up until 5 a.m, and I'd feed our team ammo to slow down these bills or kill these bills on the calendar. That's what I got to do in Congress. And stay up all night long to do that every single night. That's what I'm going to do.
Lori Saine is loriforfreedom.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Lori, loriforfreedom.com. If folks want to learn more, they can get involved with the campaign, learn more about you. But in 12 months, perhaps right now, 12 months from right now, you could be heading to Washington, D.C. to measure the drapes for your new office. So, Lori, good luck to you. I'm sure we'll talk again in the near future, but thanks for hopping on the program. loriforfreedom.com. Lori Saine, newly declared candidate for the 8th Congressional District in Colorado for the Republican nomination.